WrestleVotes has reported that WWE has offered Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the opportunity to wrestle another match. According to Steve Austin, he was so pleased about his performance at WrestleMania that he would not rule out the possibility of another special attraction match. So, with that said, if Stone Cold Steve Austin were to return to WWE, who would you pick to be his opponent or his feud?
Okay. Well, I had two choices. I'm gonna get I'm gonna get my primary choice out the way, the choice like I came up with my own, and I'm gonna give you my second choice afterward. Cause it was kind of like a 2-person thing. I came up with this, but my first choice was Brock because I asked myself, who have they built up enough to be worthy of going against a Stone Cold? Because
Mm-hmm.
like Stone Cold just when you think about Stone Cold, you think about the same level as The Rock. There's never gonna be another Rock. There's never gonna be another Stone Cold. They're just like one in a billion. All right. Have they built anyone up to feel like a one in a billion, like a once in a lifetime superstar to go up against Stone Cold? Because I don't want Stone Cold coming back because he's trying to elevate someone necessarily. I want it because this makes sense and this makes money. But they haven't done much of anything with most of the stars. There are a few, but they're already doing their own thing and it's riding out just well. And I don't want to see Roman. For the love of God, I don't want to see Roman. Okay, let him do everything else. All right, he had enough. He's done enough. I asked myself, I was like, I'm not really satisfied with anyone here, and I don't want to see Kevin Owens again because that was fun. It was great. If I saw it again, I don't think I'm gonna like laugh as hard and enjoy it as much. So I was like, has this man ever like went against Brock? I'm like, Brock has been on the roster, but I don't remember them wrestling. But then I remembered, oh wait, this is why the motherfucker walked out. This should have been a pay per view match, and it was on live TV, and he was pissed off, and
Right.
he walked out. I never got to see that, so I was just like, that would be amazing if Steve Neck could bear it. That would be amazing because if you think about the storytelling, Stone Cold, to the eyes of some people, think that he was a brat for walking out and being a punk or whatnot, and then he had to put his tail between his legs and eventually come back and finish off and finish strong. Brock never really had to deal with too much pushback. I believe he walked out once before, right? But for the most part, he got WWE wrapped around his finger. Like they had to like get to Brock's peoples to try to get to Brock. All right, and it's on his time. Everything's on his time. If he's gonna make an appearance, how long does he want to stay? Because Brock don't like staying for full shows. If he could get his match out in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, go the f home, he will go back home to Sable. Okay, like Brock has been hustling. He came up in the era of Stone Cold, and he's been hustling for like 20 years,
Right.
carrying this company on his back for a good decade of it. If I'm not mistaken, he was on the front of video games. He was, having main event matches. He was like the ultimate person you had to get through to create a star because no one for
Very
the
true.
longest could take down Brock. You get what I'm saying? Like, I didn't really think to myself about how big of a star Brock is and how you could put him up there. You really could put him up there with the Brocks. I'm going to talk about the Brock with the Stone Colds and the Rock because Brock is like a one in a billion time act, but they know each other and they have that beef, not that beef, but they have that story there. So I feel
Right.
as though with the way that Brock has like improved his mic skills over the past couple years to where he doesn't need a mouthpiece, they could really just talk shit right there. That you went out like that, you like to act like you're tough and this, that, and the fourth, and you walked out like a little B word and you quit when your neck hurt, and I've been carrying this company for 20 years. And now that you got your little 5 minutes of fame, and you wrestled a rookie. Kevin Owens is not a rookie, but I'm just saying
He's not
that you
at
wrestled
all.
a rookie. He's not. He's not. But I'm just imagining what could come out of Brock's mouth. That you beat a rookie or whatnot. Now you think you could wrestle at 50 something years old. Like, who do you think you are, bro? Like, who do you think you are? You know, like, motherfuckers have to go through me. Me. I came up with you. Motherfuckers have to go through me to be valid. Like he could just keep poking at Stone Cold and give him something to prove again.
Right.
Cause don't get me wrong, he did prove that he can wrestle. He could do something with Kevin Owens, but he could prove that he's still that motherfucker by going up against Brock and giving us that match that we never really like got to have on a big platform. That's what I think would be fire. Now, I was also speaking to a friend. Shout out to Zaire, by the way. He's probably going to be part of our spaces on Saturday. He had given me a brilliant idea. The last video game I ever purchased from WWE was W13, and we just like got into a discussion about a promo that was part of the game. Yes, it was a work, but it had JR and it had CM Punk and then it had Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, while I was looking at it, I was like I don't know how I feel about this. But as the conversation unraveled and JR was just like poking the bear, but he was such a starter, bro. He was such a shit starter in that whole entire segment. The tension was building between the two because they're talking about the difference between his generation and Punk's generation. That how back in the Attitude Era, people like Stone Cold and others, they had to crawl, they had to fight and crawl to get TV time, to feel important or whatnot. Whereas people from his generation, they either don't care or, as JR was joking about, this generation's better at playing video games. Which, by the way, that made me laugh because JR could get away with that. Undertaker cannot, apparently. Let me get back on topic. Um, he mentioned that people from his generation don't claw as hard. That they kind of basically expect things to come from them, but there's only about 5 or 6 people, Punk being one of them, that actually wants to claw to the top, to be that person, to be like another Rock or another Stone Cold or whatnot. So it's as if like he doesn't really he doesn't particularly dislike this generation, but there's a few out there that stick out, and he saw a little bit of Punk in him. And as like the progression of this promo went on, there was this tension between these two because it was almost as if like I dislike you, right? I dislike everything that your generation stands for or whatnot. But one thing I respect about this kid is that to get into the position that he wanted to be in, because he didn't look the part, he didn't look like what Vince liked in the style and the fourth. He he fought, and he clawed himself to get to where he wanted. Kind of similar to
Mm-hmm.
Stone Cold. Stone Cold, like he wasn't supposed to make it. Punk wasn't supposed to make it.
Very true.
But they had to prove themselves. They had to rub some people the wrong way. They had to step on a few toes. They had to bark back at some bosses to get where they want to get at. And I would never have thought that. Yeah, there is a bit of when Punk was in his prime and he wasn't like a shit starter and he wasn't annoying. He was doing the right things in WWE. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That whole like him being like a rebel and him, saying whatever he wants to say and doing whatever he believes in and standing on it, that's a lot like Stone Cold, you know? And the tension that was building up in that kind of reminded me a little bit of what's going on with the flow with Mox and MJF. It made a lot of sense to me. It made a lot of sense. Um I feel like if they wanted to give Punk what he wanted, which all he ever wanted was to just have like a WrestleMania main event and feel like a star, because he's wrestling has made up like the bulk of his life. Why not give him the star that he almost kind of emulates and give that to Stone Cold and they could reference not so much. They don't have to call back that exact game, but they could like make a few references from that promo, and he could talk a little bit about his time in WWE. Stone Cold go ahead and talk a little bit about his climb to get back into the ring and the will to want to wrestle. And if Punk ever were to want to come back, I feel like that's just a story that could write itself. I was
Mm.
gonna ask, what did you think about either choices, especially the Punk one, and who would be your choice to go up against Stone Cold?
So out of the two, I would probably 100% choose CM Punk over Brock Lesnar. The reason being is because um just the whole safety issue. Just like we don't know where Stone Cold's neck is. Brock is known to be, he's a tough in-ring competitor. Roman Reigns has said on the podcast, like, hey, he's rough. This is gonna hurt. So I feel like for the sake of safety, Punk would probably be the better choice. I would love to see, and while you were talking about this kind of came to my mind. If there was a way for Paul Heyman to get involved in the storyline, I would love I would love for that to happen because
Oh, it
he's
would
the
be
common
so messy.
denominator between he's the common denominator between Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk, as well as Brock Lesnar. If we really think about it, he's been had Paul Heyman not given Stone Cold Steve Austin the opportunity to join ECW, we would not have seen the foundation of what Stone Cold was, because essentially Stone Cold was birthed out of, you know, getting fired from WCW. And Paul Heyman just said, "Hey, you can come to Philly. I'll give you a mic and you can say whatever you want." And then obviously with Punk and Heyman, Heyman was by his side when he, had the one of the longest reigning WWE championship runs of the modern era. And so I would love to see like a contract signing with like Paul Heyman as the moderator. I would love to see like him like give certain thoughts on each individual, but like not as like intrusive as he would, just because like he has his previous commitments as the wise man, the special counsel to the tribal chief. But he'll just put just enough out there for you to know like I was involved in this. So I would love to see CM Punk versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania as a special attraction match. And like you said, I feel like Punk was literally looking for a WrestleMania main event. And I feel like you're going to be in LA, you have 2 nights. There's not going to be a lot of matches bigger than this. Perhaps a Logan Paul versus John Cena, perhaps whatever, like perhaps a Sasha Banks versus Trish Stratus. But I think that this has to main event one of the nights, and I think that you take Stone Cold wanting to do another match. You have Punk, who's free from, presumably free from AEW. Um, you give him that, opportunity, and he's gonna run with it. But ultimately, I think that it can work. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 39 would be the ideal situation, and that would be my choice as far as either of the two, um, who I would want to see involved in that. Did you want to say something else? Cause
Well, okay, lovely. My lights went out. Well, um, what I was going to ask that just threw me off, bro. I had a you moment. Um, but what I was thinking.
wow.
No, I'm sorry. I was gonna ask, how would you bring CM Punk back for this situation with Stone Cold, considering that we haven't heard much about what's going on with him, besides that there's a potential buyout, and we're in late November right now. Like, if you really think about it,
Hmm.
WrestleMania is gonna come by just like that. So, how
Hmm.
would you bring Punk back to set up the situation? Because Brock, you could just book Brock to show up whenever. That's not a problem. Would you
Mm.
book him to come back for like the Royal Rumble, or you think that's too obvious and you'll try to insert Punk at like a different pay per view to set this up?
Well, here's what I would do if I was booking this feud. Um, Number one, whatever show is between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania 39 that's in Chicago, the way that I would book it is that I would have Stone Cold come out, talk about how he wants another match, how, he faced Kevin Owens last year and he was in the fight of his life, but he feels like he has just one more in him that he wants to do. And then he said, but to be honest, when I go through the back, I don't see anyone, or, there's no one that sees me that would face me at WrestleMania 39. And I just want to know, does anyone have the what to step up to Stone Cold Steve Austin? Punk's music hits. And Punk's music hits, it's Chicago, and then they have a Triple H Undertaker moment where they both kind of look at each other, and Punk looks at the sign, looks back at Austin, and Austin gives him all right, gives him that head nod, and they go from there. I think that then leading up to the match, they're both of these guys are going to make limited appearances, so I would only have them in the biggest markets, and them just kind of exchanging blows. And then it gets to the contract signing the week before WrestleMania, and Paul Heyman is the moderator. And that will be the first time one of them strikes. I would say I would try to see if I would try to see if both of them at one point could try to like hit their finishers on another, but neither of them hit their finishers. They both kind of reverse out of it. And now you kind of don't know what to think going into Mania. It's just like, is such and such gonna win? Is such and such gonna win? That's just the way that I would do it. That's the way that I would book it and how I would bring them, how I would bring Punk back. So, but what about yourself? How would you book it?
I actually think your idea was better than my idea because I feel like no, because my like corny self was thinking about the Royal Rumble, but I'm like, no, 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 don't do that because I feel like that's a better opportunity to bring Sasha back if she wanted to. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna elevate the men's Royal Rumble if you really think about it, because like
Very
I don't
true.
know what surprise you can really put in there. Actually, yeah, actually, I would think if out of the two, if I had to have a return for Punk versus Sasha coming back for the Rumble to make it pop off, since this female one was trash, but the female one at least had some divas, so it got the diva stance like talking. The men's one was just so trash. I think I even fell asleep on it. I think if they want to make up for the men, no, I mean so serious. I think they want to make up for the men. Punk coming back and winning would be great, but then again, that implies that he wants to go for like a title. So maybe you
Right.
gotta scrap that idea. You know, the more you think about it, yeah, scrap. Forget what I said. That actually sounds good. The only thing I want to add is that someone needs to mock the pastries, like the medium scrum thing. That needs to happen. That would be really
Oh
funny.
yeah, absolutely.
That'd be really that'd be really fucking funny if someone just threw some Mindy's pastries at him or some shit. Or Punk just came out talking shit with the he picked up where he left off. The last time we saw
Right.
him, it was like smacking on some pastries, and he was just talking shit about Stone Cold or about about the company. I feel like there needs to be little tidbits just for comedic relief that Punk is doing fine, and that yeah, he knows that he fucked up. But
Right.
I would love if he did come back for that plot to happen against Stone Cold. Moving on.
Moving on.